Hey kiddos, my tiny baby parsleys, we are going to learn about questions in Latin. If you don't have a pen or paper or a pencil, get them now because you are going to have to answer some questions. Anytime we're about to answer practice questions, I'll make this weird noise. Bloo-doo-doo-doo. That warns you, get your pencil ready because you're going to be writing questions. Alright, let's dive right in. The Romans did not use question marks. They had to figure out other ways of indicating information that they were unsure of. For example, they used question words. That's one way they did it. They used question words. The Romans could simply start their sentence with a question word like quis, which means who, quid, which means what, cur, which means why, quote, like we use with the monsters, which means how many. Who, what, when, where, why. I'm starting to sound like Pancharosa. A Roman could just start a sentence with a word like that. Here are some examples in Latin. Quote brachia tuum monstrum habet. How many arms does your monster have? Notice in Latin, we don't need a question mark here because quote warns us it's a question. Cur tuum monstrum oculos non habet. Why does your monster not have eyes? Notice with this question, we don't need a question mark either because cur, which means why, is a question word. Okay, blue. Pencils ready? Look at this monster. You are going to ask two questions about the monster. One question is going to begin with quote, and one question begins with cur. You can ask any question you want as long as one begins with quote and one begins with cur. If you are having a little bit of trouble figuring out how to format your question, read this. But beware, you cannot use my question as your question. That would be ridiculous. Mary Kate, don't you dare. Just kidding. Okay. If you need to pause the screen here, do it. Because we're moving on. All right. You know about Nonne. Nonne is your old friend. It is also an enclitic. An enclitic, say that word 5 times, enclitic, 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 enclitic. An enclitic is a tiny word particle that cannot stand alone. It must attach to another word. Nonne is a Latin question mark. Nonne attaches to the end of the first word in the question. Habet nonne tuum monstrum, habet oculos. And then last, this is new info, so really pay attention. Nonne is used for a question that can be answered with a yes or a no. For example, does Scoot like scooters? That could be answered with a yes or a no. Does Melon like melons? That could be answered with a yes or a no. Does Bryn eat her bagels with Le Schmear? That could be answered with a yes or a no. Now, let's figure out how we would do this in Latin. Desiderasne esse monstrum. Do you want to be a monster? Ne goes right on the end of the first word, and the first word's usually going to be a verb in these types of sentences. Number 2. Putat ne is de simiis. Does he think about monkeys? Again, the ne is right there. And because the ne is right there, we don't need a question mark. Number 3. Habet ne tuum monstrum oculos in manibus. Does your monster have eyes in his hands? Okay, blue. Get your pencil out. Look at this monster and write 2 questions about him using ne. Any question in the world. It just has to be ne. Take a few seconds to do this. If you need to pause it, you may. Because we're moving on. Nonne. This is a new type of question. Remember, the ones you just did could be answered with a yes or a no. Is it raining? That could be answered with a yes or a no. Nonne is for questions that only expect a yes answer. So nonne expects a yes. It's kind of confusing because nonne starts with a no, but the no expects a yes, so nonne is yes. An example of this question would be, it is raining. isn't it? You like strawberries, don't you? We start with a sentence. It is raining. And then add in, isn't it? You like strawberries, don't you? Mary Kate loves to talk, doesn't she? Elsie loves to distract her, doesn't she? Okay, unlike nay, look at point 2. Nonay is its own word. It does not attach to anything. And nonay will always go at the beginning of the question. Let's look at some examples. If I wanted to form my own nonay question, here's what I would do. I would, step 1, identify the positive statement. So look at this. Your monster has 5 eyes, doesn't it? If we just pretend it doesn't exist, just pretend it's not there, we have your monster has 5 eyes. That's just a statement. We're going to take that statement, and in step 2, we're going to translate only that, forgetting doesn't it. So your monster has 5 eyes is, tuum monstrum quinque oculos habet. Now all we have to do in step 3 is add nonay to the very beginning of the statement to make it a question. Nonne tuum monstrum quinque oculos habet. That means your monster has 5 eyes, doesn't it? The nonay makes the question expect a yes. Wix likes to be the lookout, doesn't she? Rana loves horses, doesn't she? Alright, blue lulu, pens and pencils. Translate the 2 statements below from English into Latin. Number 1, your monster has 3 heads, doesn't it? Number 2, your monster thinks by means of 3 heads, doesn't it? Here are your 3 steps. If you need to go back, just zoom on back, but you need to translate both of these sentences. Take a moment, pause the computer, because we're moving on. The last type of Latin sentence is num. Num expects a no answer. It is not going to rain, is it? You do not like eating beets, do you? Num is not an enclitic. It is not attached to anything. Num always starts the question. Chezi's not as quiet outside of class, is she? Predicate does not like predicates, does she? Flumen does not like to lose, does she? So if I wanted to make my own num question, I'm going to step 1, identify the negative statement. So if my question was, your monster does not have eyes, does it? I'm going to ignore the does it, and I'm going to look at the does not have eyes. Your monster does not have eyes. That's a negative statement. When we're just talking, we use contractions, so we could also say it, your monster doesn't have eyes. Both of those are your negative statement. We're then going to translate that negative statement. Tuum monstrum oculos non habet. The not goes to a known when we translate it. But here's the kicker. Look at step 3. We're going to add num to the beginning of the sentence. And when we add num, we take out the known. Because a num is negative. So num already includes the known. That's why I put this U black. So num tuum monstrum oculos habet means your monster does not have eyes. Does it? So num tuum monstrum oculos habet. The known is already in the num. You don't need to say not twice. Blue, pens and pencils. Translate the 2 statements below from English into Latin. Your monster does not have a mouth, does it? Your monster is not big, is it? Number 2 reminds me of Altissima. Use this to help you, and remember when you add the num, you don't need a known. I didn't mean to say gnome. That's like a little guy who lives with Snow White. I meant a nonne. Okay, so do this on your own, and then we've got 3 questions to wrap it up. You are almost finished, so pause this if you need to, but we are moving on. Here's your final practice. Remember, nay is for a yes or a no question. Nonay expects a yes answer. Noom expects a no answer. So, nay would be, is it raining? Nonay would be, it's raining, isn't it? Noom would be, it's not raining, is it? So here's the final thing you're going to do. Blue, blue, blue. Pens and pencils ready. Translate the following question in its 3 forms. So you're translating from Latin to English. Number 1. Habet ne tuum monstrum pedes et femora. 2. Nonne tuum monstrum pedes et femora. Habet. Number 3. Num tuum monstrum pedes et femora. Habet. They're all basically the same, but they expect different answers. So altogether, from today, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sentences. Good luck. If you've got any questions, email me or ask a friend. And if I didn't say your name today, I am sorry. I needed to have a list by me. Anyway, y'all are the best. I love my tiny little baby parsleys, and I will see you in class. Good luck.